I don't tend to like my writing, not always, but for the most part, yes. Thinking I could do it better, comparing myself to contemporary poets and writers. If I read more, maybe it would sound better. Truth being, no matter what happens, my writing will sound like me unless I'm pretending. Gone are the days of decorating it with fancy synonyms from thesaurus. Now it's dressed in raw truths and sheer vulnerability. And maybe that's the part that is hard. It exposes me, and that's hard. But is it that since my writing sounds like me that I don't like it? Does that mean I don't like myself? Who knew liking would be harder than loving? So, for the first part, which is I don't tend to like my writing, I think that people think that humility is a virtue. And I do care about the perception of others sometimes so much that it tends to leak into my writing. Maybe I'm half lying. I don't hate my writing, at least. Not now. Maybe because the world used to tell me I was too much that I learned to cage myself into a shrinking circle, thinking being humble was doing the right thing, but my humble is meekness, not true humility. And hence my self-importance is my confidence. The part where I say thinking I could do it better. There's always room for improvement, but this seems to be like striving for perfection. So girl, lose it. Shrug it off. Come on now. Perfection doesn't exist. And it shouldn't mean that we can let go of quality in our work, but striving for insurmountable standards only burns us out. Mistakes are human. Comparing myself. There's a certain amount of comparison that can fuel us and help inspire us. What use is incessant comparison? You won't get any work done. Center yourself, not others, and use their stories to inspire, not dismay you. Only you know if you are striking the right balance. If I read more, maybe it will sound better. I can definitely read more, so I would hate to disagree with this. I can blame a plethora of factors on why I don't tend to finish the books I read or lose my attention. I can blame my phone and social media, but the truth is, unless I take full responsibility for it, it will always be beyond my control. My writing will sound like me unless I'm pretending. Whatever art I make will have my essence in it. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, it will sound less like me if I'm trying to be someone else, of course. But the more I accept my being and unique way of flowing, the more it will sound like one of a kind like me. Gone are the days of decorating it with fancy synonyms from thesaurus. Honestly, I miss those days. 2008 onwards core. Days spent in the boarding school without internet, studying, reading, making art, and writing while borrowing words from my pocket thesaurus. Nostalgia is funny. The past seems more colorful and rosy than it actually was. My mind is laced with faraway souvenirs, a kaleidoscope of emotions. Now it's dressed in raw truth and sheer vulnerability. I have had lifetimes happen in a year, and at the same time, I have had years where I felt like a snail trying to reach its destination, not knowing where it lied. When I was around 11 years old, I used to write on a blog on the internet called Sangha. I used to make up stories from my imagination, mostly silly and romantic, featuring different animals and creatures. I mourned that part of me that wrote mostly from imagination. Now there's been so much to process that I feel like I need to write from experience as well. I long to return to imaginary writing nonetheless one day. But is it that since my writing sounds like me that I don't like it? No, you don't dislike what you write, you just love dramatizing things. Lol. Does that mean I don't like myself? No, you couldn't love and accept yourself without first knowing and liking yourself. To accept neurodivergence is courageous. To also accept your sexuality and identity in all its forms is also not a sign of disliking yourself. You used to once upon a time, but those days are long over. Who knew liking would be harder than loving? It is true that liking yourself can oftentimes be harder than loving yourself, especially for people whose emotions are big as tsunamis. Don't rush into loving yourself because the opposite can happen just as fast. Development of a love hate dynamic with oneself. If you try to rest neutral and just get to know yourself on a deeper level, it can be doable. We are not just good or bad people, we are much more complex. Liking means accepting all the good parts of you. And I think loving means accepting the dark parts of you along with all that is good, like yin and yang. There is no light without shadow. The parts we repress and deem ugly can tend to feel misunderstood, and they tend to explode out later in vicious ways. The key is just acceptance. We are all humans trying our best to get by, so go gently.